From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
So good morning. Welcome to the Library of Congress. How many of you have been here before? All right. How many of you have never been here before? All right. So good mix. Terrific. I'm Leanne Potter. I direct educational outreach here at the library.
And I'm Mary Lou Rieger, and I oversee the doctoral and postdoctoral fellowships here at the library at the John W. Kluge Center.
And we are really tickled that you're here. A couple of months ago when Mary Lou approached me and said, we're going to have a small group of World War I scholars at the library in the spring doing research on political cartoons to see what we can glean about World War I simply through the cartoons that were published in newspapers around the world. I was intrigued because I remember when I was in the classroom, my students got a real kick out of political cartoons. And she said, we need your help identifying some groups of students who could come and work with the scholars. And I gotta tell you, when she said World War I scholars, the picture in my head was not quite what you're getting today. And without being completely cruel to World War I scholars, I sort of had an image of a lot of old guys wearing tweed and smoking pipes. The scholars you're going to work with today do not fit that description, at least not yet. Maybe in another 40 years or so, but not yet. So I had a chance yesterday to hear what they have planned for you, and I think you're going to really enjoy today.
Absolutely. And one of these scholars gave me a quote this morning, thanks Max, that this was published this morning by Politico. A lot of you know Politico, right? The magazine that's been published here in DC for about, 10, 12 years now. Every week, political cartoonists throughout the country and across the political spectrum apply their ink-stained skills to capture the foibles, memes, hypocrisies, and other head-slapping events of the world of politics. The fruits of these labors and hundreds of cartoons that entertain and enrage readers of all political stripes. And you're going to see how that happened in the World War I era, okay?
That's right, 100 years ago.
100 years ago this year, the U.S. entered World War I. The war had been going on since 1914, and you'll learn a whole lot about it today, okay?
Great, and one last thing that I want to make sure you're aware of. So today you're working with political cartoons that come from newspapers that are in the collections at the library, but what you need to know is that that is just a teeny tiny fraction of what is here in the Library of Congress. Some people describe the library as the largest collection of human knowledge and creativity ever assembled on this planet. Every time I say that or even think about it, I get all goosebumpy. And why I do is because I know that that knowledge and creativity isn't just in the materials that the library holds, but it's in the people who are here. So today, I am really hopeful that the knowledge and creativity that you all have really shines through. We've got students from at least 9 different schools represented in the room. Some of you know each other well, some of you don't know each other at all. You're gonna have a chance to meet each other. And I really hope you take advantage of that opportunity to talk to each other and learn from each other and really talk to and learn from these scholars because they know stuff. And the way they're finding out what they know, those are the real lessons that I hope you take away from today. Because they're cool scholars who want answers to questions, and that's exactly what you young people are. So thank you for being here.
Right.
And with that,
one of the ways they've done that is by collaborating. And so they have set up a whole forum for you to collaborate with each other today. And that will unroll over the next hour or so. I was going to add to what you said, Leanne, about the type of collections that are here. Not only are they huge in number, but the range of what's here. Everything from the papers of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln to Rosa Parks and the NAACP, to posters that are connected with Cesar Chavez's campaign for justice among farm workers. So the range is
and photographs,
enormous.
and maps, and audio recordings,
Exactly.
and film. How's that for a
Film,
lead-in?
movies too, yeah.
Okay.
And I would love for the 5 scholars and the artist scholar to step forward here, because we're going to introduce you. All right. Okay, you're going to each say a word or two. I want to introduce first Armin Kasparian Salidati.
Perfect.
All right.
So, hello guys, it's great to have you here. So, we are 6 scholars coming from different disciplines, each of which will introduce themselves. And I'm what they call the past few days, artist. I'm a practice-based researcher where I combine archival research, theoretical research, and I do art. So you will be having your sessions with these people, and I will be around to help you and guide you through the art activities and the practical activities that you are about to do. So if at any point you need specifically my help, just wave on me and I'll be there in 1 or 2 minutes. And I'm really thrilled to be here with you, and I hope this is a creative and joyful session for you. Welcome.
Hi all, it's a thrill to be here and thank you for joining us. My name's Adam Sharif, I'm from London, and if you're joining me, we'll be the First World War. I normally work on Second World War, but I think I know a couple of things, or enough to guide you through an hour on the First World War. Yeah, pleasure to meet you all, thank you.
All right, what number is it?
It's table 5.
Who said 5? Who's got the number 5 on their badge?
Excellent.
Okay,
Dream
those
team.
folks are going to go to Adam's table. All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm from the University of Munich. I write my PhD on the history of hunger strikes within the United States and beyond. And I will be at table 3, and even my PhD is focusing on what many people consider as a non-violent form of political protest. I will focus today on the theme of violence and how violence was depicted in political cartoons at the time. And well, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for coming and joining us today. It's a pleasure. Yeah, table 3.
Okay, my name's Charlotte. I'm also from Munich, so I'm a German scholar who teaches American history, so there's already some kind of weird connection there. And now I'm here as a German doing American history in America to American students, so this is a fantastic setup. I'm really looking forward to getting your input as well. And I'll actually be looking at the American perspective on Germany during the neutrality years. So if you're in my group, which is I think 2, that's what we're going to be doing. And we had a fantastic week preparing this, and I'm looking forward to sharing this with all of you. So welcome.
Hi, my name's Charlie. I'm from London, although I'm spending this year in Texas. I haven't quite got the accent yet, but I'll get there by the end of it. I'll be talking to you about maps and the way in which cartoons are depicted on maps, and whether that's as people representing countries, whether that's animals, whether that's bears, dogs, all manner of things. We'll be looking at this in map form, and I'm really excited that you guys are here. I'm in group 1. You'll be joining me in the Woodrow Wilson room over there, so I'm sure that'll be very exciting for you from the Woodrow Wilson High School to be in your namesake's library. I'm really looking forward to working with you all today. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Andrew Kerr. I'm from the University of Lincoln. I'm a propaganda scholar. I did my PhD thesis on World War II propaganda comics. So yes, you can get a doctorate looking at comics, which is why I ended up here at the Library of Congress several years ago, because they have the largest collection of comics anywhere in the world. So I pretty much got to geek out for like 6 months reading comics. It was fantastic, absolutely wonderful. And I'm at table 4. and I'll be taking you through the history of the First World War with a particular focus on the Allies and the enemies, and the story of how that changed and how those balances shifted and the conflicts that they came into from 1914 all the way through to the armistice in 1918. So I look forward to working with you all. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very glad to see all of you. I look forward to meeting you all. Have a good day.
I'm Maximilian Bushman. I'm from the University of Munich in Germany. I'm a PhD student, and in my PhD thesis I focus on the history of hunger strikes in the first half of the 20th century. And some of my key case studies focus on hunger strikes of American suffragettes and conscientious objectors during World War I.
My name is Armenui Kasparian Saraidari, and I'm a scholar at Central St. Martin's of the University of the Arts, London. And I've been a Kluge Fellow here before, working primarily with photographic archives and making connections with their contribution in collective memory of the Armenian diaspora. I'm here today for the week-long event that the Kluge Center has put together, which we call Walkathon on World War I cartoons.
I'm Andrew Kerr. I'm from the University of Lincoln, and I'm a propaganda scholar. Well, I was a former Kluge Fellow. I was over here looking into the comic book archive for my doctoral thesis on propaganda comics in the Second World War. And I was invited back for this wonderful event by the Kluge Center, and I'm very happy to be here.
My name's Charlotte Lerg. I teach American history at the University of Munich, and I have been at the Kluge for 6 months last year, and it is delightful to be back. So this week has been an amazing week of teamwork to create a workathon for students, for high school students, to work with cartoons from the First World War and to use those to help them understand history. And I'm generally really interested in finding new ways of bringing history to kids. Well, I work with undergraduate students at home, but it's great to get to know how to work with different ages.
I'm Sharif. I am from London. I'm based at the University of Lincoln. I was a Kluge Fellow 4 years ago around this time, and thrilled to be back. I generally work on Second World War American comics in historical analysis, so I focus on methodology. Well, I was very graciously invited back to participate in this workathon with fellow former Kluge scholars in a new grouping. So I was familiar with one colleague, but have made 4 new ones, which has been thrilling. And we're working on World War I editorial cartoons from newspapers with a view to running workshops for local high school children on different themes of the war.
So my name's Charlie Lademan. I'm an academic at King's College London. I teach in the War Studies department there in international history, although I'm spending this year at the University of Texas at Austin, and my research focuses on the First World War, on the remaking of the Middle East, the end of the Ottoman Empire, and I'm particularly interested in the origins of international government, ideas about humanitarianism, human rights, and the sort of transformation of the international system around the First World War.
I can only predict that we will have so diverse outcomes depending on the background of the students, depending on the classes that they had, because we are inviting several schools from the area of Washington, D.C., but the students are coming from history classes, some students come from arts classes, so they will come from different backgrounds, and then they will have a different focus, probably on historical themes and subjects, or some other will focus more on the aesthetics of cartoons, or the ways that they can react to what they have learned. So I hope for some very creative and well thought and unique outcomes. I can't wait to see it, actually.
At my table, I'm going to focus on the theme of violence during World War I and how it was depicted in the editorial cartoons, especially from the American side. So I will show them a couple of cartoons from the beginning of the war, where violence and atrocities are depicted as like an effect of war itself. So Arminui and I came up with the idea that we could hand the students Photoshop cartoons from the German magazines Simplicissimus and Kladderadatsch. With the Photoshop cartoons and these items, they can create their own cartoons. They can create their own narratives. We will give them pens to mark something, to draw frameworks, to draw lines, to, well, kind of alterate the story which is depicted in the Photoshop cartoon, and by that they can, in a way, learn and get an impression how cartoonists work.
I will help out with the activities. So throughout the week, we have worked closely to create 5 different activities that focus on the iconography of the cartoons, focus on the representational methods of the cartoons, and we have designed 5 different methodologies that the student can work either in pairs or in a bit larger groups, like groups of 4 people, to recreate cartoons themselves, but also to understand specific meanings like what Charlotte described, culture, civilization, or barbarism, or massacres in the war, or violence in the war. So, for example, we will be putting together some collages, and I will encourage students to find their own visual language by using words or symbols or arrows to express the dynamics that were going on during the war, and how all that as a narrative can come through a cartoon. So I will be overseeing how the activities are done and encourage every student, even the ones that have never had art classes, that this is a wonderful opportunity to learn, understand, express themselves, collaborate. Of course, it's also a fun day. It's a day off school. And I guess that the students will really be excited to be in such a unique place as the Library of Congress, and to put their hands on either reproductions of the cartoons, or even look at large-scale maps that the Geography and Maps Division has let us have here today in our presentation.
Well, I'm going to take them through the sort of the narrative of the First World War from start to the armistice, with the frame of allies and enemies. So who's allies, who are the enemies, how does this change across the duration of the conflict, what were the reasons for it becoming a global conflict. Then you've got this poor wee Italian guy down the left hand side, the Russian steamroller, and you've got the Swiss neutral. Try to get their heads a little bit around the ins and outs of trench warfare, and approach some of these difficult subjects from the source material of the cartoons to illustrate them, which should hopefully help engage them and aid understanding. Along with that, we have an activity from the artist we've been working with, Arminui, which I think is fantastic. They're going to construct their own First World War cartoon from a number of elements that we've selected, working closely together across the week, so that they can build up their own record and interpret the events in their own way, and produce this cartoon at the end of the day, which I'm very excited to see the results of.
I want to do 2 things. One thing is I want to explain to them how one particular feature of cartoons is the connection between words and images, and how, especially by a juxtaposition, you can sort of create a new message. One of the fears was that the war would come over in terms of the immigrants would then kind of take their conflict into America, and that was another reason why he stressed to be neutral in thought but also in deeds. On the content level, as I said, I'm going to look at German-American relations, and particularly I want to look at terms like culture or Kultur, which turns into almost like a propaganda term over the years, and changes its meaning. So I want to also discuss with the students how sometimes words can change meaning over time.
I'm going to be focusing on the causes of the First World War and the outbreak of the First World War. What I'm hoping to do with the students is to give them the different factors involved, whether it's imperial issues, colonial issues, or the naval race, or trouble in the Balkans, all these different aspects that play into one another, and then the short-term factors like the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, and give the students an opportunity to create their own cartoons. This is the exercise Armin and I have devised together, whereby they'll create their own cartoons according to how they think the war would have come about. And what's great about the causes of the First World War is that if you understand all the factors and you assemble them in a way that makes sense to you and you can defend it, you can't be wrong. That, there isn't a right answer to this. So I'm hoping that the students will find that engaging because it's an opportunity for them to bring their own subjectivity to the table.
So what I'll be doing is teaching them about the changing map through cartoons, and what we'll be looking at, which I've been able to come up with Armin, who's been just fantastic. To have an artist on board has just been wonderful. And what we're going to be doing is doing a jigsaw puzzle, using the pieces of these cartoon maps to show to the students how the map of Europe changed, fitting them together in artistic forms. And then the idea will be to show them the original maps from the Library of Congress's vaults, these remarkable maps. The German dog and the Austro-Hungarian dog attached together, and they're actually sort of caught together by their leads. And the sense is that because of the treaty, they're forced to fight with each other. And the writing underneath, it talks about the Germans having no ally apart from the Austro-Hungarians. These maps, to have the physical artifact before them, I think will be wonderful for the students. So the idea is to show how the map of Europe changed, and also to show how a mentality in Europe changed. These maps, you see them at the beginning of the war in 1914, 1915. We don't see these sort of maps by the end of the war, and in some senses, this more innocent time, this more sort of playful ideas about the map of Europe are transformed beyond all description as the map of Europe is also transformed.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.